May our Father, Messiah, and the Holy Spirit be with us. Deuteronomy chapter 1. These are the words that Moses spoke to all Israel beyond the Jordan, in the wilderness, on the plain opposite Suf, between Paran and Tophel, Laban, Hazeroth, and Dizahab. By the way of Mount Seir, it takes 11 days to reach Kadesh Barnea from Horeb. In the 14th year, on the first day of the 11th month, Moses spoke to the Israelites just as our Father in heaven had commanded him to speak to them. This was after he had defeated King Sihon of the Amorites, who reigned in Heshbon, and King Og of Bashan, who reigned in Ashtaroth and in Edrei. Beyond the Jordan in the land of Moab, Moses undertook to expound this law as follows. Our Father in heaven, our God, spoke to us at Horeb, saying, "You have stayed long enough at this mountain. Resume your journey and go into the hill country of the Amorites, as well as into the neighboring regions, the Arabah, the hill country, the Shephelah, the Negev, and the seacoast, the land of the Canaanites, and the Lebanon, as far as the great river, the river Euphrates. See, I have set the land before you. Go in and take possession of the land that I swore to your ancestors, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give to them and to their descendants after them. At that time I said to you, I am unable by myself to bear you. Our Father in heaven, your God, has multiplied you, so that today you are as numerous as the stars of heaven. Excuse me. May our Father in heaven, the God of your ancestors, increase you 1,000 times more and bless you, as he has promised you. But how can I bear the heavy burden of your disputes all by myself? Choose for each of your tribes individuals who are wise, discerning, and reputable to be your leaders." You answered me, "The plan you have proposed is a good one." So I took the leaders of your tribes, wise and reputable individuals, and installed them as leaders over you, commanders of thousands, commanders of hundreds, commanders of fifties, commanders of tens, and officials throughout your tribes. I charged your judges at that time, give the members of your community a fair hearing and judge rightly between one person and another, whether citizen or resident alien. You must not be partial in judging. Hear out the small and the great alike. You shall not be intimidated by anyone, for the judgment is our Father's. Any case that is too hard for you, bring to me, and I will hear it. So I charged you at that time with all the things that you should do. Then, just as our Father in heaven, our God, had ordered us, we set out from Horeb and went through all that great and terrible wilderness that you saw, on the way to the hill country of the Amorites, until we reached Kadesh Barnea. I said to you, you have reached the hill country of the Amorites, which our Father in heaven, our God, is giving us. See, our Father in heaven, your God, has given the land to you. Go up, take possession, as our Father in heaven, the God of your ancestors, has promised you. Do not fear or be dismayed. All of you came to me and said, "Let us send men ahead of us to explore the land for us and bring back a report to us regarding the route by which we should go up and the cities we will come to." The plan seemed good to me, and I selected 12 of you, one from each tribe. They set out and went up into the hill country, and when they reached the valley of Eshcol, they spied it out and gathered some of the land's produce, which they brought down to us. They brought back a report to us and said, "It is a good land that our Father in heaven, our God, is giving us." But you were unwilling to go up. You rebelled against the commandment of our Father in heaven, your God. You grumbled in your tents and said, "It is because our Father in heaven hates us that he has brought us up out of the land of Egypt, to hand us over to the Amorites to destroy us." Where are we headed? Our kindred have made our hearts melt by reporting. The people are stronger and taller than we. The cities are large and fortified up to heaven. We actually saw there the offspring of the Anakim. I said to you, have no dread or fear of them. Our Father in heaven, your God, who goes before you, is the one who will fight for you, just as he did for you in Egypt, before your very eyes, and in the wilderness, where you saw how our Father in heaven, your God, carried you, just as one carries a child, all the way that you traveled until you reached this place. But in spite of this, you have no trust in our Father in heaven, your God, who goes before you on the way to seek out a place for you to camp, in fire by night and in the cloud by day, to show you the route you should take. When our Father in heaven heard your words, he was wrathful and swore, not one of these, not one of this evil generation shall see the good land that I swore to give to your ancestors, except Caleb, son of Jephunneh, he shall see it. And to him and to his descendants I will give the land on which he set foot, because of his complete fidelity to your Father in heaven. Even with me, our Father in heaven was angry on your account, saying, you shall not enter there. Joshua, son of Nun, your assistant, shall enter there. Encourage him, for he is the one who will secure Israel's possession of it. And as for your little ones, who you thought would become booty, your children, who today do not yet know right from wrong, they shall enter there. To them I will give it, and they shall take possession of it. But as for you, journey back into the wilderness, in the direction of the Red Sea. You answered me, we have sinned against our Father in heaven. We are ready to go up and fight, just as our Father in heaven, our God, commanded us. So all of you strapped on your battle gear and thought it easy to go up into the hill country. Our Father in heaven said to me, say to them, do not go up and do not fight, for I am not in the midst of you. Otherwise, you will be defeated by your enemies. Although I told you, you would not listen. You rebelled against the commandment of our Father in heaven and presumptuously went up into the hill country. The Amorites who lived in that hill country then came out against you and chased you as bees do. They beat you down in Seir as far as Hormah. When you returned and wept before our Father in heaven, our Father in heaven would neither heed your voice nor pay you any attention. Chapter 2. After you had stayed at Kadesh as many days as you did, we journeyed back into the wilderness in the direction of the Red Sea, as our Father in heaven had told me, and skirted Mount Seir for many days. Then our Father in heaven said to me, you have been skirting this hill country long enough. Head north and charge the people as follows. You are about to pass through the territory of your kindred, the descendants of Esau, who live in Seir. They will be afraid of you. So be very careful not to engage in battle with them, for I will not give you even so much as a foot length of their land, since I have given Mount Seir to Esau as a possession. You shall purchase food from them for money, so that you may eat, and you shall also buy water from them for money, so that you may drink. Surely your Father in heaven, your God, has blessed you in all your undertakings. He knows you're going through this great wilderness. These 40 years, our Father in heaven, your God, has been with you. You have lacked nothing. So we passed by our kin, the descendants of Esau who live in Seir, leaving behind the route of Arabah and leaving behind Elath and Ezion-Geber. When we had headed out along the route of the wilderness of Moab, our Father in heaven said to me, do not harass Moab or engage them in battle, for I will not give you any of its land as a possession, since I have given Ar as a possession to the descendants of Lot. The Emim, a large and numerous people, as tall as the Anakim, had formerly inhabited it. Like the Anakim, they are usually reckoned as Rephaim, though the Moabites call them Emim. Moreover, the Horim had formerly inhabited Seir, but the descendants of Esau dispossessed them, destroying them and settling in their place. as Israel has done in the land that our Father in heaven gave them as a possession. Now then, proceed to cross over the Wadi Zered. So we crossed over the Wadi Zered, and the length of time we had traveled from Kadesh Barnea until we crossed the Wadi Zered was 38 days, until the entire generations of warriors had perished from the camp, as our Father in heaven had sworn concerning them. Indeed, our Father's own hand was against them, to root them out from the camp, until all had perished. Just as soon as all the warriors had died off from among the people, our Father in heaven spoke to me, saying, "Today you are going to cross the boundary at Moab of Ar. When you approach the frontier of the Ammonites, do not harass them or engage them in battle, for I will not give the land of the Ammonites to you as a possession, because I have given it to the descendants of Lot." It also is usually reckoned as a land of Rephaim. Rephaim formerly inhabited it, though the Ammonites call them Zamzumim, a strong and numerous people, as tall as the Anakim. But our Father in heaven destroyed them from before the Ammonites so that they could dispossess them and settle in their place. He did the same for the descendants of Esau, who live in Seir, by destroying the Horim before them so that they could dispossess them and settle in their place even to this day. As for the Avim, who had lived in the settlements in the vicinity of Gaza, the Kaphtorim, who came from Kaphtor, destroyed them and settled in their place. Proceed on your journey and cross the Wadi Arnon. See, I have handed over to you King Sihon, the Amorite of Heshbon, and his land. Begin to take possession by engaging him in battle. This day I will begin to put the dread and fear of you upon the peoples everywhere under heaven. When they hear report of you, they will tremble and be in anguish because of you. So I sent messengers from the wilderness of Kedemoth to King Sihon of Heshbon with the following terms of peace. If you let me pass through your land, I will travel along the road. I will turn aside neither to the right nor to the left. You shall sell me food for money, so that I may eat, and supply me water for money, so that I may drink. Only allow me to pass through on foot, just as the descendants of Esau who live in Seir have done for me, and likewise the Moabites who live in Ar, until I cross the Jordan into the land that our Father in heaven, our God, is giving us. But King Sihon of Heshbon was not willing to let us pass through, for our Father in heaven, your God, had hardened his spirit and made his heart defiant, in order to hand him over to you as he has now done. Our Father in heaven said to me, "See, I have begun to give Sihon and his land over to you. Begin now to take possession of his land." So when Sihon came out against us, he and all his people for battle at Jahaz, our Father in heaven, our God, gave him over to us, and we struck him down, along with his offspring and all his people. At that time we captured all his towns, and in each town we utterly destroyed men, women, and children. We left not a single survivor. Only the livestock we kept as spoil for ourselves, as well as the plunder of the towns that we have captured. From Aroer on the edge of the Wadi Arnon, including the town that is in the Wadi itself, as far as Gilead, there was no citadel too high for us. Our Father in heaven, our God, gave everything to us. You did not encroach, however, on the land of the Ammonites, avoiding the whole upper region of the Wadi Jabak, as well as the towns of the hill country, just as our Father in heaven, our God, had charged. Chapter 3. When we headed up the road to Bashan, King Og of Bashan came out against us, he and all his people, for battle at Edrei. Our Father in heaven said to me, "Do not fear him, for I have handed him over to you, along with his people and his land. Do to him as you did to King Sihon of the Amorites, who reigned in Heshbon." So our Father in heaven, our God, also handed over to us King Og of Bashan and all his people. We struck him down until not a single survivor was left. At that time we captured all his towns. There was no citadel that we did not take from them. 60 towns, the whole region of Argob, the kingdom of Og in Bashan. All these were fortress towns with high walls, double gates, and bars, besides a great many villages. And we utterly destroyed them, as we had done to King Sihon of Heshbon, in each city, utterly destroying men, women, and children. But all the livestock and the plunder of the towns we kept as spoil for ourselves. So at that time we took from the two kings of the Amorites the land beyond the Jordan, from the Wadi Arnon to Mount Hermon. The Sidonians call Hermon Sidon, while the Amorites call it Senir. All the towns of the tableland, the whole land of Gilead, and all of Bashan, as far as Salekah and Edrei, towns of Og's kingdom in Bashan. Now only King Og of Bashan was left of the remnant of the Rephaim. In fact, his bed, an iron bed, can still be seen in Rabbah of the Ammonites. By the common cubit, it is 9 cubits long and 4 cubits wide. As for the land that we took possession of at that time, I gave it to the Reubenites and the Gadites, the territory north of Aroer, that is on the edge of the Wadi Arnon, as well as half the hill country of Gilead with its towns. And I gave to the half tribe of Manasseh the rest of Gilead and all of Bashan, Og's kingdom. The whole region of Argob, all that portion of Bashan, used to be called a land of Rephaim. Jair, the Manassite, acquired the whole region of Argob as far as the border of the Geshurites and the Maacathites, and he named them, that is, Bashan, after himself, Havoth Jair, as it is to this day. To Machir I gave Gilead, and to the Reubenites and the Gadites I gave the territory from Gilead as far as the Wadi Arnon, with the middle of the Wadi as a boundary, and up to the Jabbok, the Wadi being boundary of the Ammonites. The Arabah also, with the Jordan and its banks from Chinnereth down to the sea of the Arabah, the Dead Sea, with the lower slopes of Pisgah on the east. At that time I charged you as follows: although our Father in heaven, your God, has given you this land to occupy, all your troops shall cross over armed as the vanguard of your Israelite kin. Only your wives, your children, and your livestock, I know that you have much livestock, shall stay behind in the towns that I have given to you. When our Father in heaven gives rest to your kindred as to you, and they too have occupied the land that our Father in heaven, your God, is giving them beyond the Jordan, then each of you may return to the property that I have given you. And I charged Joshua as well at that time, saying, your own eyes have seen everything that our Father in heaven, your God, has done to these two kings. So our Father in heaven will do to all the kingdoms into which you are about to cross. Do not fear them, for it is our Father in heaven, your God, who fights for you. At that time, too, I entreated our Father in heaven, saying, O Father, my God, you have only begun to show your servant your greatness and your might. What God in heaven or on earth can perform deeds and mighty acts like yours? Let me cross over to see the good land beyond the Jordan, that good hill country in the Lebanon. But our Father in heaven was angry with me on your account and would not heed me. Our Father in heaven said to me, enough from you. Never speak to me of this matter again. Go up to the top of Pisgah and look around to the west, to the north, to the south, and to the east. Look well, for you shall not cross over this Jordan. But charge Joshua and encourage and strengthen him, because it is he who shall cross over at the head of this people and who shall secure their possession of the land that you will see. So we remained in the valley opposite Beth Peor. Chapter 4. So now, Israel, give heed to the statutes and the ordinances that I am teaching you to observe, so that you may live to enter and occupy the land that our Father in heaven, the God of your ancestors, is giving you. You must neither add anything to what I command you, nor take away anything from it. but keep the commandments of our Father in heaven, your God, which I am charging you. You have seen for yourselves what our Father in heaven did with regard to Baal of Peor, how our Father in heaven, your God, destroyed from among you everyone who followed the Baal of Peor, while those of you who held fast to our Father in heaven, your God, are all alive today. See, just as our Father in heaven, my God, has charged me, I now teach you statutes and ordinances for you to observe in the land that you are about to enter and occupy. You must obey. You must observe them diligently, for this will show your wisdom and discernment to the peoples, who, when they hear all these statutes, will say, surely this great nation is a wise and discerning people. For what other great nation has a God so near to it as our Father in heaven, our God, is whenever we call to him? And what other great nation has statutes and ordinances just as this entire law that I am setting before you today? But take care and watch yourselves closely, so as neither to forget the things that your eyes have seen, nor to let them slip from your mind all the days of your life. Make them known to your children and your children's children, how you once stood before our Father in heaven, your God, at Horeb, when our Father in heaven said to me, assemble the people for me, and I will let them hear my words, so that they may learn to fear me as long as they live on the earth, and may teach their children so. You approached and stood at the foot of the mountain while the mountain was blazing up to the very heavens, shrouded in dark clouds. Then our Father in heaven spoke to you out of the fire. You heard the sounds of words, but saw no form. There was only a voice. He declared to you this covenant, which he charged you to observe, that is, the 10 Commandments. And he wrote them on 2 stone tablets. And our Father in heaven charged me at that time to teach you statutes and ordinances for you to observe in the land that you are about to cross into and occupy. Since you saw no form when our Father in heaven spoke to you at Horeb out of the fire, take care and watch yourselves closely, so that you do not act corruptly by making an idol for yourselves in the form of any figure, the likeness of male or female, the likeness of any animal that is on the earth, the likeness of any winged bird that flies in the air, the likeness of anything that creeps on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the water under the earth. And when you look up to the heavens and see the sun, the moon, and the stars, all the host of heaven, do not be led astray and bow down to them and serve them, things that our Father in heaven, your God, has allotted to all the peoples everywhere under heaven. But our Father in heaven has taken you and brought you out of the iron smelter, out of Egypt, to become a people of his very own possession, as you are now. Our Father in heaven was angry with me because of you, and he vowed that I should not cross the Jordan and that I should not enter the good land that our Father in heaven, your God, is giving for your possession. For I am going to die in this land without crossing over the Jordan, but you are going to cross over and take possession of that good land. So be careful not to forget the covenant that our Father in heaven, your God, made with you, and not to make yourselves an idol in the form of anything that our Father in heaven, your God, has forbidden you. For our Father in heaven, your God, is a devouring fire, a jealous God. When you have had children and children's children and become complacent in the land, if you act corruptly by making an idol in the form of anything, thus doing what is evil in the sight of our Father in heaven, your God, and provoking him to anger, I call heaven and earth to witness against you today that you will soon utterly perish from the land that you are crossing the Jordan to occupy. You will not live long on it, but will be utterly destroyed. Our Father in heaven will scatter you among the peoples. Only a few of you will be left among the nations where our Father in heaven will lead you. There you will serve other gods made by human hands, objects of wood and stone that neither see, nor hear, nor eat, nor smell. From there you will seek our Father in heaven, your God, and you will find him if you search after him with all your heart and soul. In your distress, when all these things have happened to you in time to come, you will return to your Father in heaven, your God, and heed him. Because our Father in heaven, your God, is a merciful God. He will neither abandon you nor destroy you. He will not forget the covenant with your ancestors that he swore to them. For ask now about the former ages, long before your own, ever since the day that our Father in heaven created human beings on the earth. Ask from one end of heaven to the other. Has anything so great as this ever happened, or has its like ever been heard of? Has any people ever heard the voice of God speaking out of a fire as you have heard and lived? Or has any God ever attempted to go and take a nation for himself from the midst of another nation by trials, by signs and wonders, by war, by a mighty hand and outstretched arm, and by terrifying displays of power, as our Father in heaven, your God, did for you in Egypt before your very eyes? To you it was shown so that you would acknowledge that our Father in heaven is God. There is no other besides him. From heaven, he made you hear his voice to discipline you. On earth, he showed you his great fire while you heard his words coming out of the fire. And because he loved your ancestors, he chose their descendants after them. He brought you out of Egypt with his own presence by his great power, driving out before you nations greater and mightier than yourselves, to bring you in, giving you their land for a possession, as it is still today. So acknowledge today and take to heart that our Father in heaven is God in heaven above and on the earth beneath. There is no other. Keep his statutes and his commandments, which I am commanding you today for your own well-being and that of your descendants after you, so that you may long remain in the land that our Father in heaven, your God, is giving you for all time. Then Moses set apart on the east side of the Jordan 3 cities to which a homicide could flee, someone who unintentionally kills a person. The two not having been at enmity before, the homicide could flee to one of these cities and live. Bezer in the wilderness on the tableland belonging to the Reubenites, Ramoth in Gilead belonging to the Gadites, and Golan in Bashan belonging to the Manassites. This is the law that Moses set before the Israelites. These are the decrees and the statutes and ordinances that Moses spoke to the Israelites when they had come out of Egypt, beyond the Jordan and the valley opposite Beth Peor, in the land of King Sihon of the Amorites, who reigned at Heshbon, whom Moses and the Israelites defeated when they came out of Egypt. They occupied his land and the land of King Og of Bashan, the 2 kings of the Amorites on the eastern side of the Jordan, from Aroer, which is on the edge of the Wadi Arnon, as far as Mount Sidon, that is Hermon, together with all the Arabah on the east side of the Jordan, as far as the Sea of Arabah under the slopes of Pisgah. Father willing, we will continue with Deuteronomy chapter 5. May our Father, Messiah, and the Holy Spirit be with us. Repent. The kingdom of heaven is near. Peace.